we want to, feature these in We Are LA Care. We want to feature these on the website and in social media. We want to share these out with a lot of our stakeholder audiences, including policymakers and our board of governors. So just because something doesn't have media attraction doesn't mean that we won't pursue it. It's just that's the first lens that we're going to be looking for. The second piece is that we have a tracking document, and I did not ask Emily to share that. Perhaps after this meeting, you can send that out. So we do have a tracking document that Penny is using to keep track of all of our stories. Okay. Totally, yes, excellent. And so why don't, Penny, if you have it up, if you're comfortable, can you kind of walk through what this looks like and what some of those fields are?
Yeah, and some of this, this was just for my own sake, because these are stories I got a long time ago. I learned about them in November last year. And we didn't do anything with them yet, but what I did, and I thought I had one last year, but I guess I don't. I need to work on this more. But anyway, these are my member stories. I have some tabs down here. There's the member stories, CRC member stories, provider stories, and then the storytelling pilot, which is the We Are LA Care thing. These stories I learned about last November, right before the holidays, and wasn't able to do anything with them. But anyway, you basically have this. Oh, there it is. Just to scroll up in it. Who is the owner? These are the care managers that sent these stories to me. The name of the person is Jay Mondos. The age is 37, male. This was a story about he was in recuperative care, a homeless person from the hospital went to recuperative care, and now has been housed. Here is the details of the story that I put in a share file, and I'm hoping it's going to work now. I have to, go in and make sure that it lasts longer than. So unfortunately, it's a situation because I was just figuring out how can I make this work. But anyway, you go here for the details on each of those stories in a share file folder, file, whatever. Mondo's 37-year-old male arrived at whatever, blah, blah, blah. So anybody wants to take a look and maybe see those stories. Here's where if I have done no media yet, it's probably partly because I haven't reached out to them. I don't have contact information. That's where I would have to go back to the owner and say, yes, I'm very interested in this story. Can you get me the contact information or find out if they're willing to be interviewed internally for us as social media or for a media story. Like here I have this person who's willing to talk to me, and I've got a phone number. Another one willing, spoke to him, and yes, he's willing, but haven't done anything with. Another one, yes, we're interested, whatever. So here's some of them that I've done already. Melissa, we did the interview. Jose and I were going to be putting something together, and we will definitely be using her for media. She wants to do media. We used her. She did media when we first met her 5 years ago, and we'll use her again. I have just identified an IHSS caregiver, and she's taking care of her son that I've reached out to. I have not heard back from yet, but I see this as definitely either an internal story that can be done. This link actually goes to a story that what's it called? Center for Caregiver Advancement. That's the organization that runs our caregiver training program, the 10-week course that we pay for caregivers for our members. They did a story on her, a great story. Her son had cerebral palsy, and so it can be used even if we wanted to use it as a long item. We Are LA Care story, and I've got her contact information yet, which I haven't put in here yet. I'm also right now working on members who are getting medically tailored skills. I've got some kind of identified, and I'm waiting for our internal to get contact information if they're willing. Okay, so these are just general member stories, and I've got a couple others, and I'm going to be reaching out to the care management team. In fact, I was planning to reach out to them today to see who they've got for next week town hall, or is it the following? Anyway, a town hall is coming up, so I know they're identifying people. And usually they have more than one, and they pick one to focus on. So I want to get
My
all
flesh writhes with scarlet rot.
what we can do.
It is a curse.
The CRC
Not to be meddled with by man.
These were ones I got from Pomona. Should have put that in. I'm going to mark that. I need another column. The Pomona CRC, and we did the Gallardo family. This one, we did an internal social. This person
if you are wise, you will my flesh.
And I mentioned if they're members or not members.
If you are
said,
wise, my flesh writhes
story.
with
If it's
scarlet
something
rot.
really great that happened for a person in the community, but I will likely focus my efforts on member stories because I'm obviously trying to get media attention, and it's a little harder if you're not a member. Provider stories, the only thing I put in here, the 3 individual providers that we had for this.
If you are wise, my flesh.
The Provider Recruitment Awards, Recognition Awards just recently. But I could have put all of them in. For instance, in our storytelling pilot, Acton did the PRA Women in Pediatric Clinic Awardee. And so that's already posted. And then I know these are the topics that are coming up, but I don't know what's exactly happening with them. But anyway, I hope that I've got this in a folder called Member Stories in the Communications folder, and I'll have to keep updating it as need be, or people can send me things and I can update it if that's easier for everyone. Anyway, I just needed somewhere to kind of put all these things. And if anybody has any ideas of what else I can add in here for information, let me know.
Thank you so much, Penny. Any thoughts about what
I have awaited your return.
or should be
The
included,
needle is
or
repaired.
questions, Penny,
Now,
about
will you give it to the guy I will reward?
Hi,
Minutes
this is
of
Priscilla. I just have a
bliss
question.
attended
Penny,
to
thank you so much.
wretched
This is
fate.
great. As far as the provider stories on that
Do you
tab,
find it that I would show such?
seems to
Well,
be with
I'm not a
contact,
mere
so
babe, she
we
is.
can
But
essentially
the
reach out
rotting
to them
sickness, I
to
doubt
kind of
that she
obtain
remembers
a
that.
story. Is that
I
correct?
must be getting old.
Am I on mute?
No. Penny and me.
Sorry. We actually, NSA went out and did video stories with these 3. So we already have video stories on all of them. Jose, did
If
you
you
do
are
the
wise,
editing
my flesh
for
writhes.
the PRA?
You ask that I
And
stab
have these
myself
been
with the
gone
needle
anywhere yet, the
to
videos
quell
on them?
the scarlet rot.
They are on social
How?
They're already done. Okay. So those have been done.
Never
But I
mind.
have the names of
I've decided
previous winners.
I would rather
And
trust you
I've got
than will simply continue. Would you mind?
The loan repayment thing, I get the names of a couple of the providers that are getting loan repayment, and I should add that here. We had one of those stories
Well,
that we did, a
That was
doctor.
easier than expected.
That was it Spectrum
Oh, why
News
do I
did
feel
the story on her, and then we did an internal story as well. So I have not filled out all of this as I should, because it takes time. But yes, if I have information here, but I would contact me before anybody just goes and reaches out to anybody, because I can just give you a little background on it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions right now?
Well, Missy, I was thinking about where we could source the stories, if we're talking about that as well.
Yes, please. Hold on. One more thing before we move on to that. Yes, great topic. I was in my head, provider stories are not just individual providers. So I would think that all of the clinic stories could be here, all the PRA stories could go on that provider story section. I guess would be my thought. But
And that was one of the storytelling pilot ones, and I can put them all in there. I just haven't had the chance yet.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Like if we're just thinking only individual practitioners, or it's broader than that.
No, and in fact, again, when not only the loan repayment, but the provider recruitment grants, I always get quotes from the clinics that get one of those grants and bring in a new physician.
I fainted before I could even thank you. Everything the nightmares
They
have
agreed to
abated.
give me a quote for a press release.
And now,
I'm sure they be a
though I
good
can
story.
scarcely believe it
Okay,
myself,
so that's actually an
I can
avenue
move as
to
I
pursue
please.
for sure.
Not that I could ever truly repay you,
Yeah,
but
I like that a lot.
I would like you to
All
have
the
this
great stuff.
by way of thanks.
Okay.
A token though it is.
All right. So yes, Jay, go ahead. You were suggesting sourcing a story.
Yeah, so one of the things that we had talked about, for a while, but we decided against it for, whatever reasons, is asking for reviews at events through Yelp or, Google reviews or whatever it may be. We decided against it because it was kind of a gray area whether you're supposed to ask for good reviews. But, I was thinking we could just ask for a review in general of LA Care. And whether it be good or bad, at least it's feedback. And then a lot of times when people leave those reviews, they're like, I love this plan because, I was able to connect with, person A, B, or C, and blah, blah, blah. And then after that, we may have their information to source a story if they were to leave. I know it's kind of like a long route to a story, and it's kind of like, thinking more long term, but it's still a source for stories if this is going to be a continuing effort. And another thing is just on our general social media, I would say that people have left us those comments in the past that are kind of good, but I'm not sure if any of them have come with stories. That's probably a Susan question, but it might be worth it to ask Susan about what those nice comments look like and if any of them are story related.
Yeah, speaking on this call, not really, huh? So maybe that's something, Violet, you can follow up with Susan about. Kind of get a sense of any, I feel like what I've seen come through are more like, oh, thank you so much for the backpack, or things like that, It's not like we're getting feedback on, thank you for solving my healthcare problem, but I don't know, I don't think
do
we have
one story like that, that I just remembered right now. He's been tagging us in his transitions, because he's with LA Care Health, and he's been tagging us in his transitions as he's transitioning from female to male, and he has been such a huge fan of ours, constantly on his stories, tagging us and saying, it's great to be able to have this support and, gender-affirming care, and I don't know why I just remembered this, but he would be an absolutely fantastic story, I think, if we could get, that. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, you're absolutely right that most of the comments are kind of short and sweet, thanks so much for this, thanks so much for that. And a lot of them are also I didn't get this. a lot of them are complaints. But maybe Susan has access to messages that are more, are more in depth, like the ones that I'm describing to you. This one guy in particular. I don't know. Does that sound like something that we would be interested in?
Yeah, definitely. We've done stories with transitioning members before, or transition members. I know we did the one before I got here. James had done something with them. And then when we were doing the homeless story with the LA Times, I made contact with one way out in I don't know where, Pomona or somewhere. And they are great stories. I mean, those were for media purposes, but definitely they're great stories.
Cool. All right. Well, then I'll reach out to him.
I'll check in with Susan to see if there's any more.
And then about the asking for reviews, Misty, I know that we haven't done it in the past, and they could end up being bad. Oh yeah, I'll leave you a review, and if it's bad, but you know.
Yeah, no, I do remember those conversations, but I don't remember that it landed anywhere in particular other than is the risk worth it, and there's a lot of work that would have to go into it to figure it out. So, you know, we would have to have somebody dedicated to figuring it out before we create a campaign around it. And is it worth the risk of more negative reviews? And it might be, especially if we're looking at, you know, going to the CRCs, right? Because they're going to be great reviews. And so maybe there is an opportunity there. It's just we have to have a brain who's dedicated to figuring it out. All right, other topics? Is Diane?
Since we're speaking about reviews, I just got like one today from the CRC in Linwood, because I, have access to the business profiles, and she gave like 5 stars, a really detailed review about how she's like a Medi-Cal insurance member and how she got like really good service. So like we do have lots of good reviews on our CRC business profiles that we could like potentially ask members, and I can drop a review in the chat box because it was like really sweet and like a really detailed review. So I'll go ahead.
Yes. And you just reminded me, and now I have a question. So the reminder is, I feel like we've tried to meet all these for months about the business. There's like, I don't understand it. There's like something going on with, there's like each CRC has their own Google profile or something like that. So even if they were to rate, they would not be rating LA Care, they would be rating the CRC, the specific location. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. They would be talking about the CRCs, but sometimes they kind of just talk about both. But I mean, I want to say, yeah, it's mainly towards the CRCs itself.
Anyway. So, Diane, we are chatting with you and Jose, just so that everybody is aware. That's kind of another big piece of all of this, is that when we do find a member who is willing to speak to us, and like the next phase is working with Kenny and Diane and Jose to go out into the field and interview them. So that is a big piece of all of this, and why it's such a heavy lift is that, we are wanting to do interviews with these folks, even if it's not media pitchable at the moment. It's still, we want to capture their story so that we can use those to our advantage. I think it will be nuanced, like maybe we should have a list of standard questions, but in each case, obviously, we'll want some fine-tuning to that standard list because, for example, if we wanted to focus on recuperative care, right? I mean, there would be some specific questions around, well, how did you get, into this setting, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's, something that will have to be nuanced, but we probably could and should have a list of standard questions that we're asking everybody as a starting point.
Hi, this is Olivia. So if we are posting to social media, not if it's, to pitch to like actual media, like real media, but if we're posting to social media, it would be great for us on the social media team to be able to sort of give input as far as, the edit that's going to go on social media, because there are like certain best practices that would be really beneficial for us to be following so that we can really like maximize, the potential and the on those stories.
So I would like to have those documented and shared with Diane and Jose, because they're the ones who are producing that content. I'm not going to have like 12 reviewers, but I definitely want that input. So if you know what those best practices are, then please do document and share that, and work with Violet to be a part of that approver review process based on those best practices as appropriate.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you. And I know Jose and Diane are pros, but certainly if there are social media specific recommendations, recognizing that's not the only place that the videos are going to be, right? So I need them to kind of determine, okay, can we have one video that fits all needs, right? Or can we have one video that has social media best practices incorporated and that would work on our website and that would work for when we send them out, to an elected? Or do we have to make two versions? This is something that I know we do sometimes. Even just like the sizing, sometimes we end up having to make two videos. So I think, those are things for Jose and Diane to be thinking about as well.
Hi, Misty. I really like that comment. Something I was thinking about too, I guess it's in line with like the requirements, but because my initial thought was, if we find a story, is there some sort of checklist on which media outlet we will use? Or is the assumption use them on all of them if applicable, as best as we can?
That's a good question. I don't necessarily have everything in writing for sure, right? So it would first go to can we determine whether or not we want to pitch. And if not, it would still go to Jose and Diane to, do the interview and produce the video. And then from that point, we would essentially, unless there's a specific reason not to, we would try to put it everywhere. So we would try to put it on our website. We would try to put it on social media. Perhaps it's a story that could be featured through Weeeeee LH Care. Perhaps it's something that we can send out via the Pulse when that gets fixed and, it's viable again. We have LH Care Spotlight, which we don't currently use, but we certainly can activate, on an odd basis. We are sending things out twice a month to various thought partners. And so we go to all of them. But to your point, we do not have that documented somewhere, and I think that's actually a really great idea to do, so that, I don't know if it's something we necessarily track on that document, Penny, but at least have a checklist of, all the different places where our different stories could go. I think that would be useful.
Yeah, definitely. And then another point, I know you said it, I know there was talk of potentially us taking on some of the newsletters since marketing put a hold on them. Is that still something up for consideration, or would you wait until we go back to resuming their normal distribution?
I gotta be honest, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it, is what I would say. So, if I could live my dream, yes, we would just take it over and run with it, because, that would allow us to ensure we're getting out the content we want to get out. However, I recognize there are competing priorities and other constraints and limited staff, and so I want to think carefully about, having a meet, and I haven't had a chance to just think about it, to be quite honest. And I guess it's also, in theory, we're only talking about 3 months downtime. So it's almost like, well, okay, fine, 3 months. They get somebody on board and they can activate again before the end of the year and we're fine. But I guess too, if that drags on and if, we're talking 6 months from now, still no movement, then maybe I would have a different response. But that's kind of where I am right now. But I welcome your thoughts and feedback on that.
Yeah, I kind of had that same thought. That, as far as what if it goes on longer? What if that date was tentative? And I guess my backup thought would be, we could take those really, all the success stories are going to be great, but we could pick and choose, the really, really good ones and from a provider standpoint, we can send some out via email, if that works. And I wasn't sure. I was going to look. I mean, you guys know more about constant contact than I do, but I was like, maybe we can do something there as well. Mm-hmm. But I think I need to do a little bit more thinking about that as well. And even the videos, when we talk about videos, if they're stories that we can send out through the provider network, via email, we do have the option to like embed the video into the email template, kind of like we've done before, correct?
Mm-hmm. I think if you're asking about constant contact, I think the answer is yes. After,
the video doesn't actually play within the email itself. It links out.
Okay, there you go. So you link to it, essentially. It links on YouTube or the website.
Mm-hmm. So I think you should also remember that it's not just video. For instance, the whole We Are LA Care thing started as a slightly long-form written story.
Sure.
So,
yeah. And you know what, Priscilla? I'm like completely brainstorming, but we could do like a little special edition of the Pulse featuring all of our provider stories and send that out, and we would love to feature you in a future provider story. Reach out to us, and maybe like somebody would be interested in being featured. Who knows? That could be a way to get more stories.
Yeah, I totally agree. Giving the spotlight on providers. I mean, I've never seen them before, obviously, with the team, but I mean, I think that would be a great avenue to explore for sure.
Okay, so you're just giving yourself more work. Excellent. But I think I agree. I really like the idea of it. Like we could do like a special edition, a one-off, featuring all of our provider content, and then soliciting more providers to reach out to us so we can share their stories as well.
Yeah. Okay. And I also, digging a hole, but I'm wondering, I mean, I have to grow, but I know the account managers work directly with a lot of, our provider network. I mean, that story or article or whatever, we can give to them as well. And also talk with them. They have a better relationship, obviously. That might get us some good stories as well.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think I forward it on.
Yeah. Okay. But let's have to talk about the polls. We're still assuming 3 months from now.
Well, no, so basically, we could use the poll template, and we have an actual, and we could send it out. Basically, we don't have to necessarily wait on this. Like, we could do like a special edition or something like that.
The template that we send kind of to email, right?
Well, okay, so I don't know what you mean by email. I'm talking about the poll as a constant contact template.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen like the email template that it's like an email template. I've been given it. I think it's by accident. I'm not sure. I think we're on the same page though. But I see what you're saying. Send it out via constant contact.
Yeah. And Misty, the last pulse went out in March, so we didn't actually send out a pulse about the Provider Recognition Award.
Oh. Okay. Well, then the perfect thing, right? I mean, we can feature that, and we can feature these stories, and we could invite them to engage with us. That's a reason for it behind it, too. Okay. So I will loop Simon and Flo in, but I actually really like this idea, so we can talk offline in more detail about it. But Priscilla and Flo, Priscilla and Afton, this is a great project for the two of you to work on together. Sounds good.
And I will get all of the contact information for each of this past year's PRA awardees into that grid. And again, it'll be in Communications member source.
I know we're a little past time, which is okay. Okay, so any other comments, questions, feedback, number one. But number two is I kind of started the meeting by saying, this is a one-time thing, we're just going to meet. But I want to also hear your thoughts on that, right? Should we have this be a regular meeting that we meet maybe, even if it's like monthly for 30 minutes, to do this exact thing, like look at this list together, see what's going on together, or is that time better spent doing other things and everybody just will know to keep their eye on that document?
I kind of like the meetings, even if it's monthly for 30 minutes. I feel like we could probably potentially hit a roadblock where we're not getting stories, and maybe it'd be a good way to collaborate and bring other ideas to the table and help each other out.
Do we want to combine it with the We Are LA Care story, or is that too much? I
mean, I'm open to that, but I don't also want to, that's like a discrete project. Just like this whole thing is going to be a discrete project. So I don't really want to get in the way of that. But Violet, what are your thoughts?
I think we can add it there. I don't have a problem with it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think it's fine to have it there.
Okay. I mean, as long as you don't mind kind of it, being about that plus more, then...
No, I think it serves the purpose of that. So it could be the depository for all that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how often does that group meet?
We are meeting once a month. Yeah, so we meet once a month to talk about the next month's topics, or actually we're working 2 months forward. So, like our next meeting will be to talk about the July theme.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, that works for me. And if you want to just, I guess, forward that meeting invitation to the folks on this call. I don't know if everybody's already on it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to see who's on this call and then invite them to that call. So I'll do that a little later.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other ideas, questions, comments, feedback? All right, so action items from this meeting are that Penny is going to be maintaining and updating the document. When you have potential ideas, please ensure that she's aware of that so she can keep that listed. She and James will determine if it's something that we're going to pitch to the media. Either way, they're going to be working with Diane and Jose to go out and do those interviews. Olivia is going to be providing some great social media recommendations for how to really make those videos engaging on social media. And we will meet on a monthly basis with the kind of combining the We Are LA Care story hour that Violet has already created.
And is there anyone that is not present today on this call that should be added? I know that we talked about including some of the sponsorship folks just because if there's speaking opportunities or so forth, but this is specifically for storytelling, right?
Yeah, it's storytelling.
Okay. So do we want to, I know we talked about like content from social. Do we also want Susan here in case that comes up again?
I think so. I mean, another thing is I want to be mindful of people's time. Maybe if she wants to be here, absolutely 100%. Alternatively, if she just wants to like give us an update on before each meeting, I was like, yeah, potential opportunity here, and if you want to pursue it, and she can provide that ahead of time. So that's like absolutely. If she wants to be here, yes. If she wants to serve herself another meeting,
can provide updates via email probably.
And there's two people here that are just, well, I see there's a phone number, 562. Is that Amy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. All right, so I've got everyone then.
And Violet, can you please include Flo as well? She wasn't able to attend.
Mojo. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Oh, and then I'll be doing an offline email chain with Simon, Aston, Flo, Stilla, Jose, and Penny about the CRA stuff. Cool. All right. Anything else, folks? Nothing from me.